What's going on, guys? This is Resurrected Mod, and as always, I am bringing you another Raid Shadow Legends video. And today, we are going to be going over not all of the free champions, but the best free champions, and that includes login champions and champions you can obtain over time just by doing certain things. I'm not going to include fusions, as those are not free. But we are going to include like Lydia and Mithrala and Arbiter and stuff like that. Stuff that you can obtain through missions and whatnot. So, without further ado, let's jump into the video. Alright guys, so I built a little spreadsheet for you guys, and I will put it in the link down below, and you guys can check this out, and you can change it if you want to. This is just my opinion, and some of the specialty spots are kind of just vague, because it just really depends on where you're going to use them. But for the most part, let me move my head. I just realized my head is in the way. So, for the most part, this is pretty spot on. I'm not going to say I am 100% accurate. And I tried to not only do the rating, but I also tried to put them in the order that I think they are best. So, yeah, so we'll start off with Lydia. Obviously, I think that she is probably the best champion in the game that you get for free. And we'll go over most of their skill kits and kind of where we can use them and where I currently use them. But yeah, so we're going to jump into it, and we're going to go to Lydia. And Lydia, for me, right now, she is my Hydra champion. Let's move me again. Maybe this is a good spot. She is my Hydra champion, so I've got her in a curse set. She's rocking pretty good speed, pretty good accuracy, pretty good resistance, and she's just doing Hex. I still use her in Doom Tower wave clears with Seer. I still use her in several of my dungeons. She is just overall very solid champion because of her A2. Attacks all enemies and does decreased defense and weaken, and then places strengthen and increased speed on a 3-turn cooldown. There is no other skill like this in the game currently. She is just crazy good. And then her passive just makes her really annoying to deal with in an arena. She can revive herself when she's dead. She can block revive. And this is also great for Ice Golem if you're struggling in Ice Golem and you don't have a block revive champion. She can do it one turn out of every 7 turns she takes. Not the best block revive for Ice Golem, but she can definitely do it. And then her A3 is a single target, but she can completely lock somebody out with block buffs and block active skills, which is very nice to have. And then her A1, which is also really annoying. It's 100% chance to fear and increase the duration of poison sensitivity. And her passive on this skill is attacks enemy champions with this skill whenever basically your team is crowd control. So stun, freeze, petrification, true fear, all that stuff. She's going to pop off with her A1. And the cool thing is, she is going to attack an enemy per crowd control. So if you have a team of 4 in arena and 3 of your champions get feared or stunned or whatever, she is going to attack 3 times at random, and she will put fear out all across the board. Pretty annoying to deal with. She's not exactly arena meta, but if you're trying to climb up through the rank, she can definitely do it for you. So, moving on to the next one is Mithrala. And just like Lydia, Mithrala can be used everywhere. Her skill kit, oh, we're lagging here. Her skill kit can literally be used everywhere in the game. Man, I don't know what is going on. There we go. So, we go in here and we look at Mithrala, and obviously, with her A2, which is an AoE Hex on a 3-turn, She does increased defense and increased attack. And then she does a nice cleanse with the strengthen and a pretty chunky HP healed because it's based off of her max HP. So if you build her pretty tanky, she will definitely do a good job. The amazing thing about Mithrala is you only have to build her with accuracy, because her accuracy is going to then turn into resist, and that's it. You don't have to build resist with her, because accuracy will take care of all of it. And then of course she does that really annoying petrification, and I've seen her in Plat Arena. She can be extremely annoying and really hard to kill, but most people are going to use her in Hydra and then every part of the dungeons and Doom Tower and everywhere else. Moving on to the next one. And guys, I'm not really going to go over every build because I don't want to make this a 3-hour long video, but I'll kind of briefly go over the build, and then you guys can pause it and look at it if you want to see my build. Masteries, just the typical deal with that, and then I'll go back to Lydia just so you can see. And then I went with a resistance mastery just to kind of help out in Hydra. Alright, so my next up is Arbiter. So Arbiter you can get from the missions, obviously, and so Arbiter can be used everywhere. She boosts turn meter, she revives, she heals when your team's lower than 50% HP. She does an AoE decrease buff count, and she does an A1 weaken. And obviously most people are going to use her in Arena as a speed booster. That's a great place to use her, but she can be used everywhere else in the game. Currently she sits in my normal Hydra team as well as my normal Arena team. And then Masteries, I just went with that, and then like I said, you can look at my build all you want. Alright, so next up is Ramitu. Ramitu you can obviously get from completing the very last mission. There's no more missions after Ramitu, and I will try to stop saying obviously. I try to recognize repetition words when I can. But he is the last mission in the game, and he is extremely good. He does a A3, AoE, removes all buffs, places a block active skill and a block passive skill, and then whenever an enemy places whatever, stun, crowd control, it'll fill this champion turn meter, increase speed, and all that. And then his A2 is a pretty nasty deal. It does decrease defense, weaken, decrease speed, block buff. And if all of that is placed, then he will do an AoE True Fear, which is obviously... I caught myself.
Nice.
Which is incredibly good. And then his A1 is also really strong. He does a basically just a cooldown, and if he cools down their skill, he has a chance of stunning them. And he can also reduce the cooldown of one of your allies' skills by 1 turn, which is really cool. Just to show you my build, nothing fancy. There's his masteries, and we will move on. So let's go on to Skill of the Drakes. Skill of the Drakes is a login champion that you get. Oh man, I couldn't tell you. I don't want to lie to you, so I'm not going to even go out on a whim and say when you get her. But you do get her after a certain amount of days of login. And here's her oh, I don't have maxes. Wow, that's extremely bad. I don't really use her, so, you know, I'm not going to waste masteries on a champion I don't use. But skills, her A2 is really strong. She does an AoE 2 times. Each hit has a 20% chance to place a stun. If you put her in a stun set, and then you go for the, which one is it? Right here, Fearsome Presence. You can really get a lot of stuns out. And then she does an A1 decrease speed and decrease turn meter. And then a 1-person revive, which is really solid. especially because I want to say you get her at like 180 days login or something like that. If you don't have an AoE reviver, she can really help you out. And then the best thing about her is her healing. Every time she takes a turn, she heals all allies by 10% of their max HP, and then places a random increased speed. I have seen people build her in Relentless to continue that heal. I've seen people build her in Regeneration set to keep her alive and build her as a absolute tank. And then obviously, dang it, I didn't catch myself that time. And then some people, like myself, try to build her in a stun set, and she is really good that way. So, moving on, we got Ninja. Next. Now, Ninja, unfortunately, was a limited time login, and if you guys didn't get him, I am really sorry because he is good. Where is he? There he is. I was going all over the place. So, I have him ranked for dungeons and boss content, and I'm sorry, let me back up. Rama 2 is Arena and Doom Tower, Arbiter is everywhere but Arena mostly, and then Skill is used everywhere. So back to Ninja, dungeons and boss content. So what I mean by that is his A2 is attack 3 times at random, and each hit has a 75% chance to place an HP burn for 3 turns, and then activates any burns when using this skill. So, when he's going against bosses, like I said, boss content, he will activate the burns and just completely bleed through the HP on the boss. And then his A3 does an AoE, but if he's targeting the boss, will decrease the cooldown of this skill. So he can rotate through that HP burn fairly quickly and kill the boss in a timely manner. So, his passive is just increase the attack and crit damage every time he uses the skill. When he's fighting against bosses, he increases it by more, but it's still capped. It just increases faster. And then his A1 is a decreased defense, not 100% chance, but it is nice. And then he fills turn meter. He is kind of hard to speed tune when you're building on clan boss team. If you're gonna put him in a clan boss team, I highly recommend you go to Deadwood Jedi's website and use just the clan boss calculator and make sure that your team is still falling in sync with him, because he is incredibly difficult to speed tune around. Especially if you put him in Relentless, then it just becomes very chaotic when you're building a clan boss team. Masteries, right now, I have him in my Sand Devil team, so I only needed this stuff. And I have him in Affinity Breaker to, of course, take down the Sand Devil, which is negative affinity on Sand Devil 25. So, I don't really use him anymore other than Sand Devil, but there for a while he was a very hard carry on all of my dungeons and all of my Doom Tower bosses. So if you do have him in your fairly early game, I would reconsider building him and maybe touching up your build to further your progression in the game, because he is a really solid boss killer. So now we are on Artak, which is kind of like Ninja, but not exactly as good. So my Artak is built for Ice Golem, hard 10, and he does the job very well. Again, the gear is not exactly early game gear. Regen with 95k HP and 4100 defense, 247 speed. It needs to be above 250, but when I do the Ice Golem deal, it's above 255. And then I have the accuracy and resist needed. Yeah, but that's not really a early game build. But if you're going to use him and you do have him and your gear isn't in game, it's really good to put him in Relentless in Hydra. He is a very solid Hydra champion. His A1 does an AoE and has a chance of extending HP burn. His A2 activates HP burn and does decrease attack. And then his A3 is the AoE HP burn, and then restores this champion's destroyed max HP by 10% for each HP burn placed by this champion. I do not recommend running 2 HP burn champions with Artak because if he's not placing enough HP burn, you'll get to the point where you destroy his max HP so much that he's kind of useless. And then whenever his HP burn debuff is activated, destroys his max HP, but increases his damage, crit damage, and defense by 1% for each of their destroyed max HP. Also increases speed and resist for this destroyed max HP. So he's kind of a funky build, but if you can find that sweet spot, he is a very solid champion. And for Hydra, I would say he beats Ninja and Hydra for sure. But as far as killing bosses, I would still go with Ninja. Alright, now we're moving on to a really new champion, and it is Rathalos. So Rathalos is mainly going to be used in Hydra, but he can also be a boss killer. And you pair him with an HP burn champion, and his damage just skyrockets. So his A1 does a decreased defense, and it cannot be resisted if it's a boss, which is very nice. Not having to build accuracy, so you can just focus on damage. A1, or A2, I'm sorry, attacks one enemy. Every second use of the skill in a round will attack all enemies instead. Will ignore 25% of the target defense if the target is a boss. Will ignore 100% of the target defense. This is incredibly good in Hydra, especially if you can time it correctly and hit down heads with this skill. This is going to be one of those champions where you have to manual just because you make sure you use the skill at the right time, on the right head, in order to boost your damage. And I'm currently working on building him up. He's already 60. I need to finish taking him to 60. Well, he's already 6-star. I need to finish taking him to 60. And then obviously, man, that word is stuck in my brain and I cannot get it out. Clearly, you can see I do not have books for him. And that is greatly reducing his damage. So I don't have him built or mastered yet. But he is extremely good for Hydra. Ooh, I shouldn't have done that. There we go. So, moving on to the next one is Dark Kale. Dark Kale is somebody that you get from normal Doom Tower. And he is very good. Dark Kale, I don't have him built because I don't need him anymore. But he is extremely good in Poison Explosion Team. Or, if you don't have Ninja, he can do fairly good at killing bosses with his A1. Attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit will have a 25% chance of instantly activating 2 poison debuff or 1 poison and 1 HP burn. He can bleed through bosses' HP really quick, especially if you have other burners and other poisoners in your team. He's used in a lot of Fire Knight teams to kill the boss. Not Fire Knight hard, but just the normal Fire Knight. And then his A2 attacks all enemies, has a 100% chance when booked at placing decreased attack, and each critical hit also has a 100% chance of increasing all debuff by 1 turn. And then he has a single target, 3 poison and poison sensitivity, which is fairly nice for single target bosses, but when you're doing wave clear, you need to make sure that you bring other poison champions in the team. And then decreases the crit rate of all enemies under 2 or more poison debuff by 15%. That is just what it is. It just kind of makes it to where the boss isn't going to crit you because bosses have a built-in 15% crit rate. So if you have him in the team and you have poison, the boss will never crit you, which is really nice. Masteries, I don't have him mastered because I've never really had to use him, but I do have videos out there that show how he fits into a finite team. I'm pretty sure I have masteries on him on those teams. So let's jump into the next one. And the next one's going to be Drexar. Drexar is not exactly free, but he is obtainable over time through the through 3v3, not through clan shop, through 3v3. So when you're in the bazaar, you can buy Drexar in here, and I highly recommend it if you don't have him because he is a really solid champion. Let me find him. I still do use him in some teams, and let's go back. I'm sorry. Dark Kill, Dungeons, like I said, and then Rathalos, Boss Content, Hydra. So Drexar can be used everywhere, and that's mainly because his A2 can be provoke and decrease attack. And then his A1 is a HP burn, and then his passive is whenever he is hit, he places HP burns, and then the champion's resist increases by 10 for every enemy under HP burn. That's up to 50%. And the Hydra, that's 4 heads, that's 40%. Or 40 resist, I'm sorry. And Hydra is really nice because he does bring that provoke. It's not a consistent provoke, so I wouldn't 100% rely on him for provoke. And the other nice thing is he's a defense-based champion, so you can build him tanky and still get nice damage out of him. And he does have good multipliers too. I have seen people use him in Arena as a defense-based nuker. He's not the best. I won't say that he's the best, but he is a solid damage dealer. Here's my build. Here's my masteries. And where I use him currently is just a couple of Doom Tower bosses. And that's really it. And then I guess some Cursed City waves. Next up, we got UDK. Everybody knows the famous UDK. And this is how most people have him built, which is all stone skin. And again, like my last video said, I would be okay if they deleted stone skin from the game or hardened outfit. I really don't like stone skin, but I'm also not going to say I hate stone skin so much on a principle basis that I'm just not going to use it. Obviously, you gotta use what's the best out there, and stone skin is it. And masteries, this is his masteries. And basically, what most people use him for is just to be a tank. Just an absolute tank. Build him with 0 speed and 100% tankiness. And his passive right here, whenever an ally is attacked, has a 100% chance of completely blocking one hit, decreasing the incoming damage to 0. This champion will receive that damage instead. It will also redirect any debuff from this hit to this champion. So, for example, champions like Rotos, Ultimate Death Knight will destroy Rotos. Not damage, but he will not allow Rotos to one-shot your team like Rotos normally does, where he pops off and he just starts killing everybody. If you have UDK in the team, Rotos isn't going to play very well. And then he also heals every time the enemy team heals. And for example, like me, I run Siphi in my team. So whenever my team takes a turn, they get healed, he gets healed. Very annoying. But that is what it is. His A1 is a provoke, and it's a decent chance, especially against legendaries. His A2 is a decreased attack and fear. Pretty good chance on that as well, or 100% actually if he's fully booked. And then his A3 places shield and continuous heal, and the shield is proportional to this champion defense, and it's a nice chunk of shield. And then increases this champion's HP, defense, and speed by 10% for each dead ally. I've seen people build solo Ultimate Death Knight for dungeon. I don't recommend that. I would probably just stick to using him in Arena. But if you need a tank, he is definitely the man for you. Next up, we got Vizix. Vizix, she was kind of hard for me. So I've got her as an 8. And I'm not using her anymore, but when I was using her, she was incredibly good, and I really felt like she deserved a 9. But I just feel like she gets outplaced by a lot of champions. I I really probably should have put her as a 9 just based off of her skill kit, but we will jump into that. So visits A1 decreases turn meter and fills the champion turn meter equal to the amount the target loses, and she's a defense-based champion. And then AoE decrease speed and then does ally protection, which is always very nice. Ally protection reduces so much damage. And then she has an AoE provoke and shield on a 2-turn, or provokes on a 1-turn, but the shield 2 turns, and it's a 3-turn cooldown. Not the best Hydra provoker since it's a 3-turn, but if you have her moving fast enough, you can definitely rotate her skills, especially because she brings decreased speed on an AoE for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. She can keep decreased speed up 100% of the time. And if you do that, and if you have enough speed on her like I do, you can rotate that provoke fast enough. And then her masteries, I don't have any masteries because I was only using her for my normal Hydra team, and I do not use her anymore. So I never felt the need to run 2,000 energy just to get her masteries, or 800 gems, whichever one you prefer. So that's how I have her built. Like I said, I don't have masteries. She was mainly in my Hydra team, and that's kind of where I would recommend using her. Now, she is an AoE provoke, and she is an AoE decrease speed, so really she can fit in any team that you have. Whether it's Wave Clear, Dungeon, Doom Tower, whatever, she is a great champion. Now, the next up is, I don't even want to try to pronounce that, but Basatha, I guess. Where is he at? I have him partially equipped. I was using him for Curse City for a wave, and then I stole his gear. And he is a really good champion. But considering that he is only obtained through Doom Tower Hard Secret Room, I feel like they probably could have included more in his skill kit, but he is very good. So his A1 is a decreased attack, one turn, well not one turn, but 1 person, and he's an HP based champion, which is always nice. You can build him tanky. Places strengthen and continuous heal on all allies. Also places shield buff 25% to this champion's on fear, true fear. Anybody that's been crowd control, he will place a shield, which is a decent skill on a 3-turn cooldown. And then there's A3, which is his big money move. Attacks all enemies, places stun for 1 turn, and decreases each enemy's turn meter by 30% on a 4-turn cooldown. That is a very good skill, especially for crowd control, and he 100% beats skill on crowd control with this. And then his passive, whenever an enemy is revived, places stun, and it cannot be resisted or blocked, which is really cool because when they revive somebody, you stun them, and basically they can't do anything that 1 turn that they're revived. That's incredibly good in Arena, and it can be used in dungeons and Doom Tower, but most of the time you're not allowing them to revive. Anyways, I don't have masteries, but like I said, that's kind of where I would use him. He's used everywhere. Next up is Sun Wukong. Everybody should know who Sun Wukong is, and he is a very, very annoying arena champion. He can be used in wave clearing because of his A2, but he is overall just really annoying in arena, and this is how I have him built, and then this is his mastery, and let's go over his skill kit. A1 places stun, and thought he did something else more than that. The chance increases to 50%, but I guess not. I thought he did more than that. I'm sorry. 50% chance if they have any buffs to place stun. That's a solid skill. He does place stun quite often if you have enough accuracy. And then his A2 attacks 1 enemy, will ignore 50% of the target defense, and will attack all remaining enemies with any surplus damage if the target is killed. This attack will also ignore 50% of the target defense. This attack cannot be critical. It doesn't need to be critical because it's insane. It does a lot of damage. It does so much damage that sometimes I would rather use Sun Wukong than my +3 Baron. Um, and if they survive, places a sheep. If you have enough accuracy and it cannot be blocked, he will place sheep through stone skin, anything. He will sheep him. If you build him with accuracy, that can be a quite annoying build. And I have seen people build him with accuracy and just use him as a crowd control champion. His A3 does removes all buffs and then places block buff, and he steals them. He steals them, and so he can steal stone skin, which is quite annoying. And then revives his champion with 100% HP, 100% turn meter, 3 turns after they were killed. Now that's 3 consecutive turns, whether that's the enemy's turns, your turn, doesn't matter. 3 turns, 3 ticks after he is killed, he will revive himself, which is incredibly annoying. Especially if you have him moving really fast and you have him in a crowd control build, he can be just really annoying. Now, I have him in a damage build, which is what I would recommend for him from most players, because his damage output is just incredible. He is by far the best free champion as far as raw damage goes in Arena. He is it. In Hydra, he can still do incredible damage, but Rathalos has him built in Hydra, or beat in Hydra, but Arena, he destroys everybody. Next up, we got, where we at? Rian. Rian is from normal Doom Tower Secret Rooms. Where is she? There she is. And she can be extremely nice because she can do an AoE, remove all buffs, and places weaken. Then she can do a revive, and then an A1 with the block buff. She's not the best champion, but for a free champion that you get after time of beating Secret Room, she is a very good champion. Now keep in mind, in this video, I am not doing every single free champion. There are a lot of free champions. I'm doing the ones that are used the most and that can still be used today. So, Rian is a good champion. I don't have masteries. I never had to use her. I've always had Madame, and then I got Ramatu and whatnot. So, I've just never had to use her. So, next up, we have Rhonda. Now, Rhonda is a very good arena champion. She can be used in wave clearing, but not as good as Sun Wukong. But Rhonda has something that Sun Wukong doesn't, and that's her A2. Attacks one enemy 3 times will ignore shield and 30% of the target defense, and places block passive, block active, and it cannot be resisted. It can be blocked. So if they have block debuff, you don't want to use that skill on that target. But if they don't have block debuff and or stone skin, I would highly recommend locking them out with this, and it does incredible damage. She will one-shot Birdo, she will one-shot Duchess, she will one-shot most of these champions out here. She does incredible damage. Hey, A1 is really nice in Fire Knight or other places in the game. Attacks one enemy 3 times, places an extra hit if the target has less than 50%. And that pairs nicely with her passive because she has a 15% to join an attack whenever an ally attacks an enemy. Just flat out 15%. There's no ifs or if this champion is paired with this champion. You can pair her with anyone and she's got 15% chance to join the attack. And then her A3 attacks all enemies 2 times. Damage increases by 30% if this champion has 50% or more HP. Immune to turn meter reduction effects when this skill is not on cooldown, and decreases all turn meter reduction effects used against this champion by 50% when this skill is on cooldown. So she's still reducing turn meter reduction effect. And then her masteries, I went like this because I was using her in Fire Knight hard, but if you're gonna use her in Arena, I would recommend going with this instead. And she is an incredible Arena champion and Fire Knight champion with her A1. But yeah, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is your coil. Your coil you can get through the clan shop. Where we at? You can get him through the clan shop. And I would recommend getting him because he is very good. He does a AoE freeze, and it's guaranteed or cannot be resisted if they have 75% or more turn meter. Again, if they have block debuff, it will not work. But if it's against like an Arbiter team, he will 100% of the time freeze him. Then his A2 has a 100% chance of placing decreased speed, and a freeze also steals the target turn meter and will ignore 50% of the target defense if they are under freeze. And then his A1 has a chance of freeze and will ignore 25% of the target defense. He is in my Fire Knight hard team as well. And his passive increases the damage this champion inflicts for each champion under freeze. Also decreases the damage this champion receives under freeze. And then places an unkillable whenever they kill an enemy under freeze. And then here's his masteries. I went with War Master. Again, he is in my Fire Knight hard team. If you're going to build him for Arena, I would do Helm Smasher. And if you're going to build him for crowd control, there's several things, but I might go for Fearsome Presence, or I might just go with Eagle Eye. There's my build. And then let's jump into the next one. I'm trying to move as fast as I can. I realize that I'm 36 minutes in. But High Cartoon is next. And High Cartoon is... Where is she? Here she is. I don't have her built, but I use her for a very long time. And I just have partial masteries. But I would recommend going like... what would I recommend? Probably War Master. If you're gonna use her for dungeons, probably War Master. And her skill kit revolves around boosting turn meter, increased speed, and has a chance of decreasing turn meter and then placing decreased speed. So she is great in arena, especially with her aura, 19% in all battles. And yeah, that's where I would use her. You get her fairly early in the game, actually, really early. And I would definitely slot her into your team. She can move quick. She can keep your team moving. But the bad thing is, if you pull an apothecary, you're better off using apothecary. But if you don't have apothecary, she is a very solid champion. And then obviously, once you get Arbiter, she's replaced forever. And you will never use her again, other than Curse City or maybe something else. But for the most part, Arbiter will replace her 100%. Next up, we got Crush, who is another login champion. And I don't have him built, but he does a leech on an A1. He does AoE, decrease attack, decrease crit damage, and he's a defense-based champion. And then AoE places continuous heal, and also places a continuous heal if the hit is critical. So he can do a good amount of healing with that, and then he can do survivability with decreased attack and decreased crit damage, and then leech, allowing your team to heal up on top of the heals that he brings. He is incredibly good for clan boss early on. And then overall, just good anywhere if you need healing and decreased attack. Next up, we got Deliana. I used to call her Delana, but I believe it is Deliana. And let's find her right here. So I have her built in just kind of a damage build. It's nothing crazy at all to just use as a filler in Curse City. And she does AoE with a leech, chance of leech, not a very good chance, but a chance of leech. And then she does one enemy decrease resist, and then if they are under block buff, which you will get from her A3, also apply debuff spread, taking any decrease resist and placing it on all enemies. That's a very nice skill. Mainly used for like, I don't know, decreased resist is kind of weird because most of the time you're going to build your champion with enough accuracy that it doesn't really matter. But if you are struggling to get the accuracy, especially you will see right here with her passive, you can build her with the accuracy and play decreased resist. And then you can lower the accuracy threshold on your team. And her A3 does block buff, heals all allies for each block buff placed, and then fills the 10 meter for each block buff placed. And then her passive increases this champion's accuracy for every 1000 HP this champion has, and then places strengthen buff on all allies every time this champion's HP drops below 50%. The accuracy boost is nice, like I said, because she is an HP based champion, and it's for every 1000, so I'm getting an extra 73 accuracy on her, so that pushes her still nowhere near what I need her, but she's close to like 190. Not the best, but again, she was just a filler. I don't have masteries. I would recommend building her either A, damage, or B, with a lot of HP and good amount of accuracy, and then you can lower your accuracy threshold on your team. Next up, we have Dark Elhain. Dark Elhain is mainly just an arena champion, and she is especially good against tournament. And with the recent fusion event that allowed more champions to get tournament, she can really blow up teams with tournament. Her passive right here fills this champion 10 meter by 25% and instantly activates the Death Majesty skill whenever this champion or an ally receives freeze debuff. And tournament does a lot of freezing. So you bring her in the team and she is just gonna constantly AoE and place increased accuracy or increased attack on herself and just blow the team up like no other. And her multipliers aren't that bad. She is a really good damage dealer. And then she also instantly removes freeze and does increased crit rate, increased crit damage, and strengthen whenever a freeze is placed on this champion. So basically, against tournament, she is god tier. There is no other champion that counters tournament quite like this champion. And then her A1 just destroys max HP, which is pretty nice because you can lower the amount of damage that you actually need on an arena champion. Now you're hoping that you can just nuke them in one shot and be done with it. But if you have to use her A1 a few times, it definitely lowers the damage threshold. So next up, we got Cleo. Now Cleo is kind of a weird champion. Where is she? So she does, let's just start with her A1. A1, not a very good chance of placing weaken, but it does increase a significant amount if they have Hex, and then places Perfect Veil if they kill somebody with Hex. Whoa. And then her A2 does increase crit rate, increase crit damage, and then attacks all enemies, and has a 100% chance of placing Black Active skills if they are under Hex. And Black Active skill is incredibly good, and it's on a 3-turn cooldown. And then places 50% accuracy, and then attacks all enemies. Has a 100% chance of placing Hex for 3 turns, and has a 100% chance of placing Fear instead on enemies under Hex debuff. So if they already have Hex, she's going to place Fear. That's not true Fear, so it's not the best thing in the world, but it's still better than nothing. And then her passive counterattacks with default skill every time this champion loses 30% HP or more in a single turn. Always counterattacks when attacked if 2 or more allies are dead. So the reason she's weird is because she can set herself up, but in arena, you mainly want other champions to set yourself up. And setting up with Hex isn't always the best thing in arena. You pair her with Mithrala and she can do pretty good, but if you go against another team that clinges and they remove Hex, then you're losing a lot of viability from this champion. So that's why I say the champion's kind of weird. She requires a setup, but she has very good multipliers and can hit really hard. I don't have masteries, and got myself that top. As you can see here, I don't have any gear on her. Next up is Alex. I didn't really want to put him on here because I don't think he's that good of a champion, but he can hit relatively hard, and I'll probably have to search him. There he is. He's hiding from us. He's just at 50. Like I said, I don't care much for him. His A1 freeze, but 100% chance against orcs and ogres, and then attacks all enemies, decrease defense, and weaken on only orcs and ogres. I think that should just be a decreased defense and weaken AoE. Okay? I mean, but whatever. We're not going to go over that. We're just going to keep going. And then removes all buffs from the target, and then removes all buffs from the target before attacking, when attacking enemy from orcs and ogres. So basically, this guy is really racist towards orcs and ogres, and he hates them with a passion. Which is not that great because orcs and ogres aren't really meta in arena. So, he's got really good multipliers, and he does hit really hard, but you lose out on a lot of his viability just because he hates the wrong fraction. Now, if he would have hated Demon Spawn or somebody else like that, or Undead, who is extremely strong in arena, then he would have been a lot more viable, but he hates the wrong tribes, so it doesn't really help us that much. We're going to come in here. Okay, we already reset filters. Next is we have Eric. Now, Eric's I have mixed feelings about because she can absolutely nuke, and with the new gear that has come out, Rathalos gear, you can actually solo hard spider with this set if you have a 6-piece, because right here, fills 10 meter by fills this champion 10 meter by 5% per each enemy hit by AoE attacks, and ignores 30% of enemy defense when using AoE, and she's all AoE. And she will fill her 10 meter 100%, and she will take turn after turn after turn until she kills the boss and all of the spiderling with the 6-piece Rathalos set. The only downside is you do have to create a team and make sure that she doesn't use this and just uses A1 and A2. If you didn't have to create a team and do that, she would be really solid because you could build her to solo, and then you could bring 4 other champions into the team as food. But because you have to create a team, it's really annoying because you can only run a certain amount of run, and then they're max, and then you have to redo the team, take them out, put new ones in. And I'm mainly speaking because I like to use the RSL helper, and obviously that doesn't help me if I have to build the team. But other than that, she's a very solid champion. She can hit really hard. She can stun decently well. And like I said, she's increasing her turn meter every time a crit hit happens. And then she's healing this champion by 5% of their max HP each time enemy inflicts a critical hit, which in dungeons in Doom Tower is not happening that often to really matter, but in arena it does, and she is really good in arena. She can really smack. So I had kind of mixed feelings. I kind of wanted to rank her higher, but I just don't see ranking her higher quite yet. And then last person on this list is Gruda. Oh wow, where is she? Right here. So I believe she got a buff or a change, I should say, because at one point I remember looking at her skill kit and saying, wow, you want accuracy but you don't want accuracy. Well, they fixed it now to where you basically just want accuracy. So attacks one enemy, has a chance of doing debuff spread, and then attacks or places it on all enemies under weaken, and then decreases your target turn meter by 10% if they are not under any debuff. Her A2 does a 100% chance weaken for 2 turns after attacking, places 2 poison for 2 turns on all enemies without weaken, and then these poisons cannot be blocked or resisted. So if you don't build her with accuracy, you could do a lot of poisons and they can't be blocked or resisted, which is kind of nice, and it's on a 3-turn cooldown. And then her A3 has a 100% chance of removing one random buff from all enemies, then has 100% chance of placing 2 poison debuffs on all enemies for 2 turns. Also remove 2 random debuffs from all allies on a 3-turn. Is really nice. Now that I'm looking at this, they didn't change it. So what's weird is if you want poisons, you don't want accuracy, but you do want accuracy for this one. So it's kind of a weird deal. I would say overall, probably build her with accuracy, and she's not that bad of a champion. Now, she's not the greatest champion, but she's not that bad. And while I got you guys here, let's do an honorable mention to Euros, however you want to say that. The reason I didn't include him on this list is because he's good for one thing and one thing only, and that is beating the Scarab boss on Doom Tower. You can solo Scarab, and it's pretty easy to build him to solo Scarab. I just don't think that he's that good of a champion other than that one specific area in the game. But if you're looking for a Scarab boss champion, he can definitely do it. He will solo it with ease. You just build him Regen and Immortal, put him with a bunch of HP, and put him with accuracy. And you don't even have to do a crazy amount of speed, just do a decent amount of speed, and he will solo the Scarab boss. So, that about covers all of the good free champions. Like I said, some of these champions are going to be overshadowed by others. I just felt like this would be a cool video to kind of share free champions that we can obtain or get with login, kind of rank them against each other, and let you guys know where you can use them or where they have been used, and vice versa. But yeah, guys, I hope this video finds you very well on this Saturday, and have a wonderful day.